everybody, and welcome to a new series I'm starting called the Halo Retrospective, where I'll be looking at the first 3 Halo games on 3 separate videos, ranking them on a scale of 1 to 10, solely on my opinion, no cultural influence or anything. And I just want to clarify that I'll be playing all of these on the Master Chief Collection, not on the original copies, and I will be playing in Classic mode for Halos 1 and 2, since this game has the anniversary versions, but I'm not going to be talking about those. I'm going to be talking about the core original game. So in today's video, we're going to start with Halo Combat Evolved. So let's get started. The Pillar of Autumn arrives from slipspace after escaping the demolition of Planet Reach. Immediately, the crew discovers a ring-shaped planet that they've never seen before. Upon deciding to check it out, they're ambushed by a group of aliens, and the under-equipped crew unlock their greatest weapon, the Master Chief. This is just the intro to Halo Combat Evolved, and I think it's great. One thing I really love about this game's story is the common idea of simplicity. We've already established 3 things. The Pillar of Autumn is escaping, the crew discovers something new, and they're being ambushed by evil aliens. Yes, it's 3 things, but they're really simplistic ideas, and this is carried all throughout the campaign, even with the introduction of the Flood. They're a parasite, and that's all you have to know. And even then, it links back to the ring world that we found at the beginning. The story leaves very few loose ends, and it includes a lot of info, but it's very simplistic info. Also, I really like the character dialogue. It adds a sort of action movie flavor to the game, where the characters are supposed to be all formal military guys, but they don't really act like it, which I love that.
Affirmative, Echo 419 inbound. Somebody order a warthog.
Halo created a control layout that still sees use in shooters today. Bungie found the pulling of the trigger on the Xbox controller similar to a gun, so they binded the shooting to the right trigger. Now what's the second offensive ranged option you have? Grenades. So it should parallel the primary option, which is the left trigger. The left stick controls your movement, and the right stick controls your view. Since jumping is your second most used movement option, it's binded to A so that you can quickly execute it. Aiming is binded to clicking the right stick, since it changes your view. Do you get my point? The controls for this game are perfectly crafted to make sense in relation to each other. And honestly, I love this control setup, and so did a lot of other people, causing it to see appearances in other games like Perfect Dark, which has a Spartan layout. The combat in this game gives me mixed feelings. On one hand, this game is ludicrous with the amount of guns and vehicles. You're given stuff like rocket launchers, shotguns, tanks, to plasma rifles, hover bikes, and guns that shoot radioactive missiles. Environments mostly let you feel like a badass and allow for the use of lots of game sandbox. Mostly. Towards the end of the game, the level of quality starts to dwindle. Levels like the library and 2 betrayals are just so long and repetitive. Lots of the levels towards the end of the game include the Flood, which are not fun to fight. It's hard to tell what kind of form a Flood is when you're constantly on the move. It could be a harmless AR Flood or one with a rocket launcher. And by the time you know, it's already too late. I love the AI in this game. Enemies will dodge your shots, grunts will flee when their elite dies, marines will jump in vehicles with you. It all adds a sense of reality to the game. So, Halo Combat Evolved, a revolutionary title for the Xbox that changed basically shooters forever, especially on console. And what would I give it? I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I think the sandbox and the story and the controls are probably its most shining points, but I think really the slog kind of at the end of the game really ruins it, because that's where gameplay is supposed to be at its peak, and the fact that it kind of just trails off and gets really, really boring kind of ruins the whole experience. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But this wasn't the end for Halo. By the time CE was done, Bungie was planning something bigger. What is that? Well, you have to see in the next episode of the Halo Retrospective.